All right, I've got Josh Newberg On3 Recruits chatting a little bit of Alabama football, Alabama recruiting today. And Josh, a lot of people thought that things would drop off when Kalen Deboer got there, and they've done anything but that. What is he doing so well? What is working so well for Alabama in recruiting right now?
Landing five-star recruits. Yeah, but there was a notion out there that Kalen DeBoer couldn't recruit the South when he arrived at Alabama, and here we are, like 6 or 7 months in, and Alabama now has the number one class in America, and they've been charging up the boards really since June. One of the things that I think Alabama's done the best out of anybody this summer is turning official visits into commitments. So much these days we see in recruiting big time targets setting commitment dates, even if they know where they want to go for weeks. They'll set an obligatory date in August that they want to decide. Well, Alabama, I don't know what they were cooking up this summer, but they had guys just coming off visits or guys on visits, which is something we haven't seen in 15, 20 years. Guys used to do this all the time, have a great visit, announce on Sunday that I'm committing. And we saw that a lot in June with Alabama. We saw a lot of guys committing on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, coming out of those official visits to Alabama. And I think nobody in the country turned official visits into commitments this summer better than Alabama did.
Saban has talked a little bit at media days of like, I try and stay out of the way. I try and not get into other people's hair or other people's mess and let them kind of do their thing. But it certainly doesn't hurt to have him on campus. And he's talked about, being somewhat involved when they ask him to be involved in recruitment, and certainly not taking any credit away from Kalen DeBoer, because I think it's probably a pretty minimal role. But I guess it doesn't hurt to have Nick Saban just right down the hall or right over in the other building when you're recruiting there as well.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And a lot of the things Nick Saban did while he was at Alabama are still woven into the fabric of the program, the details, just the facilities. A lot of Nick Saban's recruiting is still there, and I think having him on campus is just a bonus. And he understands recruiting and how to run a program, so he knows that there are boundaries he needs to uphold, but he can also be there and be a presence, and probably really cool for recruits.
Um, I mean, with any recruiting in especially high level recruiting in 2024 now, and the 2025 class looking forward, like obviously NIL plays a big part. Um, do you think that Alabama has sort of upped their recruiting efforts, when it comes to NIL post Saban? People had kind of mixed thoughts when Saban was there. Do you think that they're probably working a little harder in that aspect? A lot of times with a coaching change, there is an increase in donations and giving and stuff like that. How much do you factor NIL into what they're doing?
I think NIL at Alabama, a big part of it, along with when Nick Saban was there, was kind of the proof of concept thing. Like, hey, if you come to Alabama and you're the player that you think you can be, and you contribute in the way that you think you will, then you're going to get fairly compensated. And I think Alabama's proof of concept with so many guys coming through, getting paid, being successful, going on to the NFL, I think all of that helps kind of prove to these guys like, hey, if I come to Alabama and I am the player that I think I am, then this is all going to work out how I need it to. And, I think a bit of that and a bit of new age NIL recruiting, I think, a little bit of everything. Alabama has always adapted to the wave of recruiting that's coming in, whenever it's happening. They've always done a good job adapting.
So you mentioned, they lead the country in 5-star recruits right now. Are they done in that category, or could they, is there anybody else you're kind of keeping your eye on here in the future that they could continue to add to that really, really impressive list at the top?
Well, we're looking at Kalik Lockett, who makes his decision on August 7th. He's another five-star wide receiver out of the state of Texas. I should say another five-star because right now Alabama currently has five-stars committed, the most in the country, with the addition of Ty Haywood and Caleb Cunningham over the weekend. But turning the page to Kalik Lockett, he's another one. And then you also have A.K. Deer. He's the number 2 rated running back out of America. He decommitted from Ole Miss. Man, now it's been about 3 weeks. I mean, I thought he was going to flip from Ole Miss to Alabama. He elected to decommit, reopen his recruitment, and as of now, we don't have a date. I mean, they are completely done at the offensive line position with the addition of Ty Haywood. They got a great corner class. They have Keelan Russell at quarterback. He's kind of opened the door. Adding Keelan Russell really made things intriguing. He's one of the main reasons why a guy like a Caleb Cunningham jumped on board. I mean, they have a shot at Derek Meadows, who announces on Saturday, but I think he's probably LSU or Notre Dame bound. But like I said, you got Khalil Lockett on August 7, and then watch AKD, or the number 2 rated running back in America. I think there's a good chance Alabama picks him up whenever he decides.
Is there anybody in the top of the class, 5-star or not, that you're kind of keeping your eye on as, man, their commitment doesn't feel as solid to you? That's anybody to kind of worry about at the top of that class?
I mean, looking at Bama's 5-stars, you got Keelan Russell locked in. Dijon Lee, you got to love the pipeline that Alabama's got from California to Tuscaloosa. Caleb Cunningham. I mean, Caleb Cunningham's a wild card. He's from the state of Mississippi, but he just committed 5 days ago, so we're not counting him out. And then you got Ty Haywood. So right now, I mean, Alabama's sitting in a great spot with all their 5-star commitments.
We're going to talk the top 5 in another video here in a moment, but would you project them to finish at number 1? They currently have that number 1 rating, but I guess if they get up to 5, 6, 7 5-stars, it's going to be tough for anybody to knock them off at that point.
I mean, yeah, you got some big pieces still out there. You got David Sanders. If Ohio State lands David Sanders, remember, Alabama just jumped Ohio State into that number 1 spot. David Sanders, top 5 player overall, number 1 offensive tackle. I mean, you land him, you're probably going to vault yourself maybe back to number 1 with that one. So, yeah, we could see it back and forth. This isn't one of those situations like last year where Georgia pretty much had it locked up wire to wire. I mean, Georgia's another team that could get in there. So watch out. But I do think Alabama has enough still left on the board, enough on their commit list to finish number 1 overall.
Josh, where can people follow you? Where can they find your work for more recruiting, not just Alabama, but everybody in the country?
Yeah, On3 Recruits, the On3 Recruits channel on YouTube. We are doing live commitments. We're doing team updates. You guys know the deal. We have all of our experts on every day from all the team sites talking recruiting. So go check out On3 Recruits on YouTube.